In this video I will cover the use of variables, if statements, comments, and what error messages look like when we make a mistake in our coding. Again, I will be using Notepad++ in this video, but I have changed the settings to a dark theme. A variable is a convenient placeholder that refers to a computer memory location, where you can store program information that may change during the time your script is running. For example, you might create a variable called input_text to store the current line of a file that your program is reading. This allows you to refer to a variable by name, to see or change its value at any time while the script is running. The word dim is used to declare variables. You can have multiple variables on one line, but they must be separated by commas. You can also have them on separate lines as shown. A variable must be unique in the scope in which it is declared. It must begin with an alphabetic character. It cannot contain an embedded period. And it must not exceed 255 characters. VBScript has only one data type called a variant. A variant is a special kind of data type that can contain different kinds of information, depending on how it is used. Because variant is the only data type in VBScript, it is also the data type returned by all functions in VBScript. At its simplest, a variant can contain either numeric or string information. A variant behaves as a number when you use it in a numeric context and as a string when you use it in a string context. That is, if you are working with data that looks like numbers, VBScript assumes that it is numbers and does what is most appropriate for numbers. Similarly, if you're working with data that can only be string data, VBScript treats it as string data. You can always make numbers behave as strings by enclosing them in quotation marks. However, I would avoid doing this unless you're sure that you will not be doing any mathematical operations with the numbers in your script, as this can produce unexpected results. As you can see by the examples I have given, you assign data to variables by using the equal sign. As the syntax shows, if statements conditionally execute a group of statements, depending on the value of an expression. Although you can use the single-line syntax option, I would personally recommend using the block syntax, as it is more readable and easier to debug if your code throws an error when you run it. So the condition that I am going to use in my if statement example is the result of my return val variable, for whichever button is pressed when the script is run. To do this, type if followed by a space. Then type return val followed by a space. And then type the equal sign followed by a space. Then type VBS, which corresponds to the yes button being clicked, followed by another space, followed by the word then. Press the return key for a new line, and press the tab key to indent the code. Then we enter the statement that is executed if this condition was true, followed by pressing the return key again for a new line. We then type else. Press the return key again for a new line, and press the tab key to indent the code. Then we enter the statement that is executed if this condition was false, in this case the no button was clicked. Press the return key again and type end if. And then press the return key again to complete the if statement syntax. We now run our script to check it functions as expected. And click the yes button, which confirms our choice on our final message box. Then run the script again, to check that clicking the no button works as expected. And again confirms our choice on our final message box. As the if statement syntax shows, you can test multiple conditions with the addition of one or more else if conditions. I've amended our if statement example to show this, by changing the message box function so it has yes, no, and cancel buttons. And added in an else if condition, to accommodate this change, so we can confirm which button was clicked. It is good practice to add comments into our scripts, as this helps ourselves and other people to understand what we are doing within the script. Comments in VBScript are preceded by the apostrophe, as is shown here, added into our latest script. They can be put anywhere in the script, and can even go on to multiple lines, but must always be preceded by an apostrophe. The errors I am referring to here are those that may occur due to mistakes in programming. For example, mistakes in syntax, logic errors and runtime errors. It is beyond the scope of this video to cover all the possible errors that you may encounter while creating and running VB scripts. However, I will show some examples of errors and how to debug them. In this example, I will remove the quotation mark for the variable assignment, to show a minor syntax error. If we save and run the script, we get the error message shown, an unterminated string constant. The error message shows that the error occurred on line 4 of our script, at character 35. Because we are showing line numbers in Notepad++, we can find line 4 easily. And if we move the cursor to the end of the line, and look at the status bar at the bottom of the window, it shows we are at line 4, column 35. At the exact point where the error occurred, and taken in context, it is easy to see that we are missing a quotation mark. And when rectified, the script will run as expected. For this example, I have created a script that uses the set statement, which I'll cover in the next video, that creates an object that is used to run a batch file, called a.bat. When we run this script, we get an error stating that the file cannot be found. And if we browse to the folder where the batch file should reside, it isn't there, for some reason. So there are no syntax or logical errors in our code, we just need to copy or create the missing file, for the script to run as expected. It is possible to mitigate some types of runtime errors, but it is an advanced topic, so I won't cover it here. Logic errors can be the most difficult to solve, as your syntax will look correct, but you get unexpected results when running your script. In this example, I have created a script that uses the InputBox function to ask the user what day it is, and then responds with the relevant day's answer, from the famous nursery rhyme. All of the syntax is correct, and at first glance it also looks to work logically, even being able to handle the input of text that isn't a day. However, for each of the if conditions, you will notice that the input expected for each day begins with a capital letter. So for example, if the user entered the day in all lowercase letters, then this would result in the message saying that the input wasn't a day. In fact, as the code is at present, the user has to input the day in exactly the way it is written in the code, which is not what we wanted from the script. In this particular instance, there is a simple way to solve this problem, by taking the input variable entered by the user and making it either all lowercase or all uppercase. And also changing the condition we are checking against. This is done by using the relevant function, as can be seen in the amended code, where I have used the Ucase function to change whatever the user enters to all uppercase letters. And then checking this against the conditions that are also now all in uppercase. Although it wouldn't be of much use in this particular instance, I would recommend using VBScript.echo temporarily, to output what data is in a particular variable, if you are getting unexpected results. Here is a good example of a recent script I wrote which reads in data from a file, a line at a time. Each line of text, giving the chart position, song and artist, is then manipulated to produce an SVG output file, a picture file, for each of the single line entries. You can see from this snippet of code where I have commented out the VBScript.echo lines, shown in blue, which were used to debug my code, to ensure I was manipulating each line of text in the correct way, to automatically produce the picture files I required. That's all for this video. In the next video I will cover the case statement, the set statement, as well as the for and do statements.